Good day and welcome to the program. Press R today focuses on special measures put in place to make the 2020-2021 school year succeed within the context of COVID-19 pandemic and prolonged crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions. We shall also look at the effectiveness of one subject, one textbook policy, and we're going to see how effective it has been this far. Those are the two topics we're going to thrill you with today on Press R. And we have a very rich panel, a special panel for a special program. Today, I'm going to introduce our panel to you. We're going to start with the Minister of Basic Education himself, Professor Laurent Serge Etundingwa. My honor to have you here, sir.
Thank you.
We also have another very important personality here is the Secretary General of the Ministry of Secondary Education, Professor Fabien Nkot. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, we have to the extreme left of the set Mr. Fogwe Rogers, who is a publisher. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Then to my extreme right, we have Tewi Lambif, editorialist, CRTV. Welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure.
You've seen the panel for yourself. It's a rich panel, and we're going to give you a rich discussion here today. As we know it, first things first on Press R, the week in review now on our regular slot. Press review with Our Lady on the Beat, Emanuela Debney. Emanuela?
Newspaper audience this week had what to rush to the kiosk for. After the failed September 22nd march of MRC, Cameroun Tribune reports that justice is being sought to punish perpetrators as government hints on tough legal action against Camto on the Guardian Post. Then activates plot to dissolve MRC on Newswatch. But Camto's lawyer takes on international offensive against the Biya regime on the horizon when pro-Camto SDF militants accused of tribalism on the Post-Weekender. The CPDM scheme to lord over Cameroonians for generations is exposed on the Post, even as France may deport anti-Biya protesters on the Guardian Post. Preparations for back to school, then a cameo on newspaper columns. Cameroun Tribune presents the final touches and government assures people, students, parents of safety ahead of school resumption on the Post-Weekender. Then communities lead preparation for effective school resumption in Northwest and Southwest on the Guardian Post, which further reports that key diaspora and Ambazonian leaders back effective school resumption in the two regions before 4 million textbooks are offered free to primary schools on Cameroun Tribune. With further assurance of an effective school year on Cameroun Tribune, the Post quotes Secondary Education Minister, "We are ready to welcome students," as government announces nationwide distribution of anti-COVID-19 kits to schools on the Guardian Post. The major national dialogue is evaluated 1 year on. Government scores pass mark on the horizon, even as the sun sees a mixed bag 1 year on as war still rages in the two regions with no content for special status. A special status as an outcome of the major national dialogue, a grave error of appreciation according to Professor Nzengwa, a university done on the horizon. Cameroun Tribune then celebrates the many advances made 1 year on. The Star simply presents achievements, shortcomings and expectations. Then, Elekam examines files of candidates for regional elections on the Post newspaper as the release of list of candidates is reported on Cameroun Tribune. When SDO in legal scuffle with chiefs over regional elections on the Post, more extrajudicial killings are reported in Bamenda by the Horizon newspaper as bullets cleanse off over half a dozen civilians in Operation Bamenda Clean on the Post-Weekender. The acquisition of 28 billion CFA francs to boost rice and onions production in the country, the tussle for supremacy between Fecafood and the Football League, and the seizure of 350 kilograms of marijuana by elements of the National Gendarmerie in Yaoundé also form stories reported by the papers this week. Let's now end our press review with a story on the Guardian Post, where a soldier in Beto has allegedly stabbed his colleague, 28, to death in a scuffle over a woman. The deceased soldier, element of the Rapid Intervention Battalion B, had reportedly approached and made advances at a lady said to be the ex-girlfriend to his colleague. As he settled for a drink with friends, his colleague attacked and stabbed him. The victim later died on his way to the hospital, and his alleged killer has been arrested, while the whereabouts of the lady in question remain unknown. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
Thank you very much, Manuela. Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to her, you watch what the press fed on this last week, and we're going straight away into our discussion. We're going to start with the most recent event that concerns back to school, relating to our topic, the release of the ordinary and advanced level GCE results. I'm going to ask you, Professor Laurence Chitundingwa, Minister of Basic Education, in your capacity as a cabinet member. This time around, the results had no problems, no hiccups in terms of especially those to whom the results are destined. They did not go around haunting newspapers, go around trying to decode what I don't know to get their results. People had their results in their homes calmly. How do you appreciate, first of all, the results and this fact?
Thank you very much. We like to say that it's also and always a pleasure when our teachers, our children, our parents are quiet after the exams environment. Compared to the former year, this year everything has been done quietly in terms of the result. Everybody got them because the means to transmit the result were now, I cannot say perfect, but very, very well mastered. So it is a pleasure for parents and for pupils, students themselves to get their result easily. And we think that now we have a very quiet atmosphere, and the operation going back to school will resume in a very, very conducive environment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, Secretary General of the Ministry of Secondary Education. What comment do you have concerning the results?
Thank you very much for inviting me here. Number one, I would like to express my gratitude to my boss, Minister Nalova Lyonga, that authorized me to come and sit for her here. What I would like to say regarding the GCE this year is that we even noticed that there was more around something like 400 more students that took part to the exams, which is also an indication that some type of normalcy is progressively coming back to the Northwest and the Southwest.
Okay. Now, we're going to Tewilambi, your comment on this, the fact that students did not have headache, they did not have toothaches to get their results.
Of course, Killian, that can only be commendable. But I want to caution that we shouldn't take it as a celebration of an achievement. I think there is always need for perfection. There is always a process. I don't think we've arrived yet. I don't think we've arrived at a situation where results will be published in conditions that will be satisfactory for everybody. The results may have come and students and all the stakeholders had access to them as they wish. But again, in as much as we appreciate this, we also want to encourage that more efforts should be made in such a way that the results should also come in time. We can understand the prevailing context under which these results were published, the security and health concerns. But we should be honest to recognize that these results could have come earlier, such that the academic year is smooth for everybody, for all the students. I think the authorities in the Ministry of Secondary Education will recognize that students who had their results yesterday cannot go to school tomorrow.
As we say, this is a special context.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
All of us understand.
And
so.
then I'm saying that now that they have succeeded in putting an end to what I call the commercialization of results.
Exactly. That's
they should go ahead to improve on the timeliness. The crisis notwithstanding, schools must go, and schools must go in conditions that are more or less, acceptable,
okay,
so that all the students can go, and then we would say we have had a successful school year. Form 5 students who are going to lower 6, those who might be going to university, the problem may not be quite acute as for those, when the parents start looking for schools now, when the children start moving now to go to school tomorrow. So I'm saying that I'm recognizing the efforts made, and I'm encouraging that more should be done to make the situation better.
Yes, Rajesh Fogwe, your comment on this?
Well, I speak from the perspective of a parent, and I'll say that my daughter had a GC yesterday.
Congratulations on
Thank you very much. Got 11 papers with 28 points, and I could see the joy and the relief for getting the results quickly, because the way the results were communicated was really quick, like you say, so it helped somehow. We're in special moments, special measures are taken, so I think that that's quite commendable that the GCE board and the Minister of Secondary Education was able to release the results in the way that parents would get them in time, in a way. And not very much in time, but in this kind of difficult circumstances, you can't expect things to be normal. So anyway, I think children were relieved quicker than having to wait to do the coding and look for the results for another 1 week before losing more time to go to school. So I think parents somehow so far, and children relieved, are set to go to school.
It's actually an achievement. We say kudos, and we hope that it will be better next time. Now we're going to go straight into the crux of our discussion today. We're going to start with the Minister of Basic Education. COVID-19 context, very special context. First measure, what is it special that has been put in place for schools to resume tomorrow, Monday, the 5th?
Yeah, we have the barriers measures that every citizen must master, and students going to school have to implement them every day of their life until this disease will be sent away. But we don't know the time it will happen, and I think that as we got to implement them when we came back at the last term, in the 2019 and 2020 school year, we are resuming school this time with the same measures but improved, because we have to be sure that the very first time it came, we were implementing measures that we didn't implement before, and we trained ourselves better than we were in last June, and I think that this is the very first measure we have to implement, and we have to improve some other measures, because the environments of going back to school is not only what we implement at school, is what we implement home, okay, like parents. What we are teaching our kids home, like parents, going to school, they must know that they must not stop everywhere in the road, touching everything, mixing with all the groups they find there. I can say that there is a discipline we have to teach them, and we have also to implement ourselves, because having the very, very difficult badge of education, the primary and nursery.
Because they are children,
yeah,
you have to almost babysit them.
Yeah, I have noticed something.
Yes.
All what teachers said in the classroom, like measures, when they come back home, if the parent want to do something else, they said no. The teacher said that we have to do this. And I said that it's a very good results, because from tomorrow we'll go to a school to another to see how the things are looking like. I am very sure that we will find them disciplined. What I can add is that the teachers have also trained themselves a lot, so that we can go to school tomorrow with a very optimistic environment, and we are praying all the gods that this virus must not change again and try to come and
rebound.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the first special measure is the blend system, the shift system. Let us talk about that.
I am really very surprised. Maybe I don't know what was going on in the Anglophone subsystem of education, but I know that at my old age, I have implemented the shift system. Even before the COVID-19 time came, we have some schools in Yaoundé, Douala, Bafoussam, we have Group A, Group B, and C. Inside those groups, we used to implement the shift system. Okay. It's not a new system of education.
Okay, we have to have students, pupils and students. Some of them start, I think, 7 to 12:30. Others start from 1 to 6 p.m., something like that. Yeah. How is this going to work, sir?
Let me first be more precise on the figures I mentioned a few minutes ago about the increasement of the participation to the GCE. 110,000 in 2019, and then 154,000 for 2020. Okay. That is the exact figures, which is, to me, an indication of the fact that a certain normalcy is coming back to this region, thanks to the effort of the people and of the authorities. Now, to come back to your point, yes. As the minister was saying a few minutes ago, the system is very simple. You will have, and we need to explain first why we are looking for a shift system. Mm-hmm. We are looking for a shift system because there is a problem. The problem is COVID. And for you to address the COVID issue, you need social distanciation. This is where we are coming on saying, okay, the classes that were having more than 50 students should do a shift system, which means not all the classes around the country are going to do the shift system.
That's it.
It will be only the minorities, some minorities classes that are going to do that, because not all classes
have so many students.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at it deeply, you will find that you have the shift system in some main cities as Yaoundé, Douala, and maybe Bafoussam. But the other part of the country will still remain with the classical way of addressing the issue.
Yes, we got that right. Let us take the metropolitan cities, Yaoundé, Douala, you're talking about, maybe Bafoussam and some others. Having 50 students in class, we know the number of students we find in some government schools. If we have to break them down into 50, 50, 50, it will be difficult.
No, it is not difficult. I mean, the organization has been made. I can even disclose to you that last week, the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, sent teams of her staff around the city of Yaoundé to try to assess how the principals were organized to welcome this new system. I mean, I think everybody is aware of what the rules are, and people are well prepared.
Yes, Tewi,
yes.
What reading do you have of this blend, we call it shift system?
I think it's a good idea. It's something that needs to be implemented. They couldn't have done otherwise. One thing I want to say about this shift system is, I don't know, I'm not an expert in education, but I wonder whether all the constituent parts of our educational system have been taken into consideration. We seem to be focusing on
by constituent parts. What are we talking about?
And what I mean is the teachers, the students, the parents. We seem to be talking more about students, 50 in class. What about a teacher who has been teaching 100 students, or who has been teaching 10 hours, and now because he has to do that times 2? Have adequate measures been taken also to make that teacher deliver within such circumstances? You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if students will come, they have been divided into 2.
Toujours analyser cette section.
Because one thing too is to guarantee the quality. I know that when you work for many hours, you tend to be less productive. That is clear, isn't it?
Mr. Secretary, yes, are we going to have a deficiency in number of teachers, given that we are actually doubling what used to happen?
I would like to say that to support what my junior brother said, the Secretary General of Minister of Secondary Education, we have been training teachers for it. And we think that in the past years, when we went to places where we create new schools, we didn't have a lot of classrooms. Mm-hmm. We have implemented it for long. At the basic education level, they cannot say that they don't know this system. The shifting system has been there for long. And especially now, I think that we have to emphasize about the number of teachers. Because we have some teachers who are in offices, some newly recruited. We have tried now to mobilize all these teachers that they have to work. And they did the same thing when we were in the last term coming back to school. We took even teachers who were not in classes, which were sent out of school. We bring all of them to give a hand to those who were in place.
Yes, I was even going to ask that. Good that you have come. It would appear there are still some who have actually not followed that prescription, that call by you, and they are still not teaching. What are you going to do to make sure that you bring them?
I can consider as a minister, this information is just a gossip. But I know that the education and the instruction we gave, we have at the regional level, at the divisional level, at the subdivisional level, we have authorities there to take care of that measures to be implemented. It's not our measure, it's the measure that the President of the Republic order, and the Prime Minister is working very hard behind. So I think that until now, we didn't get a confirmed information saying that we called for somebody to come back and he said he will not come. He will be punished for that.
We should have asked whether you call for everybody, all the teachers whose schools are not functioning now.
Yeah, you know, we cannot mix the problem. Okay. You know, in Northwest and Southwest, we have a very special situation. Okay. So there we are working to be sure that the places where they have to come back are safe. Because we cannot tell somebody to go in front of a gun. No. But we are trying to be sure that places are safe. Okay. And secondly, we have got a very huge movement from those places who are called dangerous places to those who are more safe. Okay. This is the reason why we are tackling the issue of overcrowded classes. Okay. If it was not the case, I remember I went to Northwest and Southwest many times before being a minister. The class would have a very good size in terms of students. So now, if some towns like Limbe, Boya, and others who are well secured have overcrowded classes, it's because the president ordered to put all the students coming from places where they cannot stand school without any condition. Okay. He asked to give them a chance to go to school.
That's fine. Yeah, you wanted to follow that up, but you have something to say before I...
Well, no, just to add that these are the moments when we begin to see the wonderful nature of our country, when a system can be copied from another one. Yes. Because someone who's lived in the Anglophone part of the country for a long time won't understand the shift system. The shift system, which I've observed in both systems, and I've worked in both of them, is a wonderful one, which is the only thing that could help in this kind of time when schools are overcrowded, there's big movements, that we can find a way to practice back also in the Anglophone areas where many children will be rushing back to schools now, and schools will need capacity to handle them in the COVID context, and so they can try to understand what the shift system is about and how to implement it. And like the minister was saying, I was just going to add that actually the recruitment has been happening in the basic education ministry, and sometimes when things are hard, like if we watch what was happening in the UK or in the US in this COVID time, you can even call back people who are available from retirement but who are still strong to do some work. I mean, just like so that we can deal with difficult situations.
Okay, but now we stay within the shift system. It starts from 7, if you confirm, from
7:30 to 12:30.
To 12:30.
That is the general framework,
yes,
know?
Then from
7:30 to 12:30,
yes.
12:30 to 5:30.
Yes, now, they are the same students and pupils who were starting at 7:30 and ending by 3:30. When each day they go from 7:30, one group goes from 7:30 to 12:30, it means the number of hours of learning will be reduced.
Okay.
Are you going to cover the syllabus?
Let me tell you first of all how well organized we are. Mm-hmm. Since the month of June 2020, when the head of state decided that school should resume, the Minister of Secondary Education has been having weekly a meeting, video conference with all the 10 regional delegates every week to make sure what is happening now will happen. Now let me come back to your question.
Syllabus.
The syllabus, yes. Now, number one, where there is no challenge of having more than 50 students in the classroom, there is no shift system. That one should be very clear, which means that at the end of the day, you will only have a minority of people going through the shift system. Number two, it has been well arranged in a way that when you people are having are involved in the shift system, you have the distance education that is going to supplement, you know, the normal way of having the lesson.
That is exactly what we are going to talk about now.
Exactly.
Okay, before we go to that, Tewi, you say you have something to say?
Yes.
Then I'm going to link, he's talked about distance learning,
yes,
which is part of the new measures put in place.
Yes, I just wanted to draw our attention to the fact that we seem to be more preoccupied with the schools that are reopening tomorrow for the new academic year. I think we should not also lose sight of the fact that the previous academic year did not end up well. And that
that's the special context we're talking about.
That's what I'm saying is that, let me give an example. A student or people who was in a particular class will need to move forward to the next class, right? And we know that apart from those in the examination classes, where everything was done for them to complete the syllabus, the others did not. And they are going to move on to the next level. What happens to that? How do you catch up with that?
No, I think
those are things that we also, in as much as we're looking forward, it's a good thing, but we should also look at where we are coming from.
Well, I think for once, the authorities in charge of education in our country should be praised. Because, you know, we're facing a very huge challenge. All the country on earth were facing this challenge. I'm not sure if all the countries on earth were able to complete the school as we did in Cameroon. I think we should learn to also appreciate what our people are doing correctly. I think it was a great challenge to make sure to complete the classes last year, and we were able to make it in our country.
You did it
and
for examination classes.
We should be happy, you know, about that.
You did it for examination classes. That's good, excellent.
You didn't say that.
No, the results are there to show. But I'm talking about those who were not in examination classes. Okay. They do have a right to continue. I'm not for examination classes. No question. You did it.
Thank you very much.
You made it. But what about the school system? Is not only about examination classes.
Professor,
I think that we have what we call the education community, the community of education in general. And when we stop going to school, we got 6 weeks to fulfill the school year. And what we ask at different level, the responsible of education, was to come up with a typographic system of lessons, and to send them in all the schools. Anyway, at the basic education, this is what we did. And we ask parents or some teachers who were in villages or in some areas of towns to assist parents who have school children in the house with those lessons, to help them to master them. And we we had been instructed that when we resume classes, we'll have 3 weeks to revise what they missed in the former school year. And I think that we will be there to make the new year, the new school year, a little bit longer than we used to do before. That will help those children to implement all what they miss at the past school year, and they'll have a very nice level at the end. So, as my junior colleague said, my junior brother said, I will say that in general, when you compare what happened in European countries, African countries, Asia,
we should be very proud.
No, we should be proud. We came out with students which level is good compared to others.
Okay, thank you. Another new measure.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the point Tengui made is very important because it helps us. We cannot resolve a problem right here, but it helps the thinking going forward. And what I'm going to be saying, someone may say he's saying that because he's a publisher, but in effect, the new pedagogical approach that is being implemented in Cameroon today instructs publishers that we are to develop books in a way that parents can use them at home easily to assist their children. Yeah. But the challenge now is that parents are still yet to get the fire of having textbooks at home. So it's going to be a joint effort of schools, teachers at schools, and parents at home, but with the right learning materials that
okay, but again, if I may quickly react, when we're taking a measure like what the publisher is saying, we should also try to contextualize it. How many of our parents, I don't know, I don't have the statistics, are intellectually, and even they may be intellectually, but they are working environments and their living conditions. Does it really permit them to give the child the assistance?
We cannot just say that there's no perfect condition where you have every parent being able to teach their child,
at the limitations
but at least
of this kind
every bit of measure implemented can help in the whole.
And one thing too is the availability of those textbooks.
They are definitely, that's a challenge.
We're going to our next topic is textbooks availability. How effective? We're going to treat that in our next topic. We are still on this first topic.
Distance education.
Yes, that's the point. Distance education. The topic we are treating now is the measures, special measures put in place for special 2020-2021 school year. And the point we had to talk about is distance learning. How is it organized?
I would say that for us it will be a remake of what we did already with the last term. And we are improving this remake because when distance education comes, you saw CRTV everywhere with what you call tablets and so on and so forth. Even the places, villages, which cannot have the CRTV, the television signal, or power to implement learning education, we came out with what we call typographic lessons. We did it. We did them. They have them in their context there. And I would like to say that our parents, our kids who are the juniors of those who are in very, very small classes, are there to back what the government is trying to do at this very special moment. But I will also recognize that Cameroon have a lot of skills in terms of education, because I went to Lesotho to get a prize for the head of state, and the classification who were done there was not a classification of an NGO, no, this a global classification of countries in which the system of education is improving very well, is growing very well, and I can say that in sub-Saharan Africa, you don't have a country, even South Africa, you don't have a country like our country where you can found a school in a village, you can find what we call a grammar school in a village, you can even found some higher education institution in very small towns of this country.
Okay,
so
we have
people
who have been talking about Ghana as one good country, Nigeria not. and some countries in East Africa, apart from...
Yeah, they were there in the classification.
Rwanda?
No, they were there.
Okay.
They were there. South Africa were third.
Okay.
South Africa were third. Okay. We are not the one. They call here and we go to take the prize for the president.
Okay.
He's there since 1982. When he came, we didn't get the huge number of schools we have today. I think at my level, at each division, some division didn't have the high schools. But now you have high school in all the divisions.
Yes, no, we accept that. That's a fact.
Yes,
we are going to move very soon to the next topic, but we are not done with this distance learning. The minister has said they are going to kind of remake what they've been doing since the 1st of June, that prepared the examination classes. Now the number is going to be different. Number of students coming in, the number will be different. How are you going to get this distance learning to remote children in remote areas? Even
I knew you will come to that.
Even in townships, we cannot assure that we have.
You are giving me an opportunity to try to clarify the situation and the distinction between distance education and online courses. What the Ministry of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, is doing under the leadership of President Biya and the supervision of the Prime Minister, Head of Government, is distance education. Online courses is only one component of distance education. When you are talking of distance education, then you are saying that you are using several tools to bring education toward the student. You can use online courses. You can have printed materials that you are distributing to children. You can have compact discs where schools and some materials are recorded. You can have these USB keys, that you are distributing to people. So we shouldn't make the confusion between online courses and distance education.
Yes.
The scope of distance education is more wide than the one of online courses.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, sir.
But staying within that framework, we know that whether it's distance or online, following what you have named, we still have to use this ICT gadgets.
Yes.
And they need electricity.
Yes.
In town, like in remote areas. How are you going to
make sure? You didn't get my point. I mentioned to you that we are going to even print some material that we are going to distribute in remote areas where children are not having the possibility, to get connected to internet. We are going to have compact discs where we are going to record some of our classes. We're going to have these USB keys where we are going to record some materials, and all these tools will be distributed to the children in the remote areas.
Okay, Tewi, you were indicating.
Yes, I just want to...
Briefly, we're going to move on to this topic.
Briefly draw our attention to the fact that the present or the prevailing context should not blind us to some of what I would call the perennial challenges we've always had within our educational system. These have just come to compound a situation that we've been living with over the years. There are particular problems, the challenges of the situation in different regions. Cameroon is a country with, we have, as the minister says, we're doing well, but we must not also forget that we have challenges in security, otherwise in the northwest, in the southwest, in the far north. We have to live, schools have to be open to within that context. We have the problems of infrastructure. We have the problems of clandestine schools. We have the problems of PTAs. All these have not gone away because of the context we are living. And I think our education
I want to say a word about it.
Yes,
should also,
then we get out of
should also take note of this. The challenge has been increased. And I quickly want to add here, the particular case of clandestine schools. I don't know why authorities will wait for the schools to be created, then they come and close them. Is there no mechanism to even stop them?
Okay.
I would like
these are the things that I think we should not forget. I know we are going to talk about...
We got that. Minister is going to close this chapter.
No, I would like to say that we don't have a country in the world where you cannot find all these riches Mr. Senior Journalist has pointed out. But we are really fighting these problems in all the areas. saying something about what distance education. So, in the last context, we have schools where we don't have electricity in very far villages. But they've got material, they've got printed material we send.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move into our second topic. Our second topic is one subject, one textbook policy. How effective has it been on? Before we discuss that topic, just this breather. Stay on. One of the ways the government decided to improve on the educational system, facilitate things for the learners especially, is to institute one textbook for one subject. We used to have children, one child, beginning from nursery to primary to secondary school, carry a whole vehicle of books on their head, if I can describe. But as from about last year, we only have one textbook for one subject. We want to see how effective it is, beginning with the minister. If you were to evaluate in 1 minute this policy.
I just want to say that the government takes the measures because parents complain a lot about this very, very old method we have, that one subject with 4 books, 3 books, 5 books. It was very expensive for parents. And with regard with the economic environment, it was heavy to sustain. And when the government took the measure and decided to implement the measure, we were not feeling at ease with the printers and so on, who wanted all the books to be sold. But we think that all the education community adapt itself in this area, and now parents have seen that their problem has been solved, and even printers saw that it is important for them to print a certain number of books, being sure that this number of books will be bought by parents for their kids. And today, I can say it is a kind of equilibrium which we reach now with this context of one subject, one books. And we are moving forward for the second school year with that. And I can say that despite the COVID-19 environment, I got to say 2 days ago, we are now having sufficient books for all the parents and for all the children, and that we will not have a lot of complaint again in that side.
Yes, and I know you as minister, your ministry has been distributing a good number of books. We're going to come to that for you to tell us. I just want to ask you, Mr. Secretary General, some of us have noticed, and I know parents agree with me, with some students, that in some schools, teachers come and start teaching an unprescribed book by government to students, and the students are forced to buy that book. Are you aware of that? And if you are aware, what have you done?
No, we are certainly aware that not everybody is complying with the rules and regulation of the country. But this is providing me with the opportunity to explain to you what is the rising concept within the Ministry of Secondary Education now. Now, Professor Nalova Lyonga brought this concept of clean school. What is clean school all about? It's the cleanness at the physical level and the cleanness at the moral level, you know? So our ministry is zero tolerance. If you are aware of this type of situation, you just report to us directly. I can even provide you with the website of our ministry. I don't know, I asked your people to put it on air.
Yes, the website, I think I have it, is www.minisec.gov.cm.
And now we also have an anti-corruption number where all denunciations are forwarded. The number is 672-030666. So, in the framework, within the framework of the Clean School,
we have the website and the number on our screen. Yes.
Within the framework of the Clean School promoted by Professor Nalova Lyonga, the Ministry of Secondary Education, there is a system of zero tolerance. If we have a teacher that is doing what you have just mentioned, we'll sack him. If it is a whole school that is complying with that, we're going to close it. And
we trust Professor Nalova Lyonga. She is strict when it comes to ethics. The number again is 672-030666. Call, report any teacher, any school that is not respecting the one subject, one textbook policy that started last year. We're going to go to somebody whose specialty is publishing. Rogers.
Yes.
Afagwe, have you been faring? There has been a lot of complaints amongst you. People who are forcing this textbook back are those who thought that everybody should have at least one book instead of going for quality.
Well, the one book, one subject, one textbook policy, initially, just like every policy, when you're introducing in a country, people show up with resistance. At the time, I was still championing the Publishers Association of Cameroon, and I tried to explain, after meetings with the Book Commission, to say exactly that it was better to have a book and work on economies of scale that will bring an integrated solution to every person. Meaning, like the minister was saying, if a publisher had even just 2 books approved or 5 books approved, and he alone is in that domain, and he has to print a lot more of the books to sell over a longer period, then his production cost comes down, the book is cheaper, and parents can afford more.
You have not talked about quality.
Oh yeah, but you don't get approved without good quality.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's
what the approval. Yes, quality is part of the approval criteria. So the challenge in the beginning was the fact that when you're doing a transit, then there are eggs you need to break to make the omelette, because there were old stocks of previous books. But people just got to realize that you can't make a change without, stepping on some eggshells. So I think after 2-3 years of the implementation, at a certain level, that this policy is effective, but there needs to be a proper assessment. Let me just give you very quickly. The publishers have keyed in to the effectiveness of the policy. So publishers are following that. The Book Commission does the approvals that the minister signs, and it's one book. So the official list is one book for one subject. So on to that point is effective. Now, the challenges are coming in, which will be dealt with because every policy needs cleansing.
Yes. We'll come back to the challenges. There's something the minister, your minister, is really very strict on. She is saying that, she said it in one of our interviews, official and unofficial, that having one textbook for one subject does not prevent a teacher from doing research, using some other books. That teacher has to bring that knowledge to the classroom instead of bringing a textbook.
I think that a teacher cannot just base his teaching process on one book. When you go to higher training school, they are using many books. The measures, one textbook, one subject was concerning our children, they relate to their teachers, because parents were overloaded of buying a very huge number of books for the same subject.
Okay.
But when you are a teacher, you are supposed to get an experience from where it comes. So you have to buy a lot of books. But now, ITC have facilitated the process. When you are a teacher, you have to make a few research from different authors, from ITC's material, and you come and give, what I can say, the substance of all what you saw there.
Since you have the microphone, I'll stay with you, Mr. Minister. You as a person, at the head of a ministry, have been distributing books. How many books, and why are you distributing these books to schools?
Yeah, you know, we are then to implement international prescriptions about what we call modern education with the Agenda 2030. You know that. And in this agenda, we have a disposal who want us to practice inclusive education. And in this regard, we came out with the concept of free education. But the interpretation which is always done by the community is that free education means that you don't have to give anything.
Okay.
It's not correct. That's because we have partners in education. We have parents, we have the government, we have all international partners of education. It is our duty to implement this free education. And we think that globally, giving books, it is what the government must do.
Yes, and I got some notes from what you've done so far. 13,000 primary schools are concerned. 4 million textbooks also are to be distributed.
Yeah, we launch the operation next Tuesday.
Okay, we have 7.5 billion CFA francs that's going to cost this, and involves public and private schools with 8,000 nursery and primary schools. Do you confirm these figures?
It's correct.
Okay, you were talking about these challenges of textbooks. We're going to get the challenges.
Yes, I was saying that for the policy to have its real impact in the end, it has to be effective at all levels. So the level of an official book list being signed by the minister is effective. Now, its implementation in the field is one of the areas of challenges we're talking about, like the Secretary General was talking here, where you raised, where some schools are trying to use books that are not approved. And I remember in 2018, the two ministries, at the time he wasn't the one yet, but his colleague, and sorry, his predecessor and the minister, they signed a circular to say to asking the decentralized services of their ministries to make sure they're doing inspection in schools. You know, so if this is happening, we will not have a lot of problems about that.
That's right. Briefly, we're going to.
Can I beg?
Yes. No. Please go ahead.
I know
you're not begging.
I know that I'm not a publisher.
Go ahead.
But at least I observe.
Yes, please.
And I observe. So I'm not.
Please go ahead.
So quickly, I just want to say this issue of books. I know we should not forget that this is a business. Yeah. This is a business. This is an activity where people come in to make money. And we know that wherever people want to make money, it is not clean, not always clean, because you do everything to make money. But I just want to say that the authorities in the ministries and the publishers should know that in matters of education, as a public service, as an essential factor in the development of any country, they must lay emphasis that let the business part of it be at least moderate, reduced. Because the concern of publishers is to make money.
You can always say that.
Okay, no,
I won't have time to be able to educate people on this. Don't make suggestions that are
I want to say something.
We have to be careful.
I don't want them to exchange. Yeah, I want to say something. All those problems has been issued long ago. And in the past time, the problem of books were handled by a different ministry, separately. And because of those really trade atmosphere that happened, that some of teachers were also authors, were working with some printers and so on and so forth, the president said the prime minister must handle the issue. This is the reason why they issued the National Commission of Textbooks. And I think that...
that's clear. We are going to receive Bruno, who has reactions from our viewers. They've been following this program live on CRTV web Facebook with reactions. Bruno, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Killian.
Yes, what are the reactions that we have?
On Facebook, as the program is streaming live in Bonneval, Brian says, one subject, one textbook, wonderful initiative. But the golden question is, where are the pupils and students to exploit the majority of classrooms in the far north, littoral, southwest, northwest are ramshacked, and we are resuming schools in a few hours. I asked myself whether there is an infrastructural policy for the rehabilitation of educational facilities. Then we take Charles Primus, who is also following. He says, what is of interest to me is social distancing for the academic year. Will the number of teachers increase, or weekly workload will increase, as well as the motivation? We also have Ndrakom Augustine. Good ideas from the Ministries of Education. The big question is to the ministers need to answer is, what about the innocent kids in the Northwest and Southwest regions who have not seen the four walls of the classroom for the past 4 years? We have Gires Zé, who says the Ministry of Secondary Education talked about e-library. The question is, what about the guarantees that students will return the gadgets in good state?
Yes, please, Bruno.
Last one, GT.
Yes.
How prepared is the Minister of Secondary Education for school resumption? No appointments for vacant posts, especially principals. No transfers of teachers. She should be reminded that these teachers and school administrators are also parents. When they find admission for their kids, where they
Thank you.
That's where they're going to be based, and it's going to be difficult to move families.
Thank you very much, Bruno.
Thanks for having me, Kiki.
Yes, you're welcome. I don't have to ask the minister because he has heard. He's right here on set, and he has heard some of those worries from our viewers who wrote to us in the course of this program. It's just time for us to round off. Beginning with you, Terry. It was a nice time having you once again on this program.
It's a pleasure, and I just hope that our different stakeholders will all take into consideration the peculiarity of this academic year, but do not lose sight of the problems that we have in our educational system,
yes,
which are quite comprehensive.
Rogers, for Gwe?
Well, as we round up, I'm very honored that we had the two authorities represented here, and we're hoping that this topic on the effectiveness of one textbook, one subject can be taken out of here for more assessment with some of the stakeholders.
Mr. Secretary General in the Ministry of Secondary Education, Professor Fabian Kot.
Yes, I mean, it was an honor for me to be part of this debate. I hope we were able to explain to people what exactly distance education is all about, and what the shift system is all about. The shift system will not concern all the schools over the country.
Thank you very much. The Minister of Basic Education himself, Professor Laurent Serge Etuningwa, is here.
I can say that in the name of the government, I want to ensure parents of the country that we tried to overcome the COVID-19 environment, and we did it in the last 3 months with success.
And you're going to...
Now we want them to get confident on the government, what government is doing, on what the president prescribed, or what the prime minister is doing in a day-to-day basis. And I think that tomorrow is good that every parent sends his children back to school.
Thank you very much. And tomorrow it's schools reopening in Cameroon. Tomorrow is also Teachers' Day, October 5. Happy Teachers' Day to all teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we had time for on Press Hour today. If you didn't watch it live, we stream it again on CRTV Facebook, CRTV Web Facebook. And if you miss out on the program today, you can watch a rebroadcast Monday by 3 p.m. Thanks for your attention. Have a nice day.